building the new line.
Knitting or Superman?
The train for its type is the most powerful vehicle on land. And the main controller and his engines are the power behind the docks, industries, and branch lines that make up the BTC. These are their stories.
If you were on Bigsworth Isle, you would agree that the engines have personality. There of course is our main six, the double numbers, Madeline and Hazel Eye. But then there are engines that fade into the background, which is a place most very much like to stay. There was one engine, however, that did not fade into the background. His name was Lorenzo, and he was an odd sort. He was an engine from Italy, and he very much showed it. You could hear his opera singing before seeing him.
Ay sera nadie mere sayette tu sayado.
Many passengers loved his singing, or at least could tone it out, but many did not and avoided Lorenzo like the plague and took other trains, except for one Mr. Johnson. He could only take Lorenzo's train home from work. Then there was one engine that, despite not talking, could never quite slip in the background. His name was Burlington, and as mentioned before, he is very well known. This is partially due to his face, which has only one expression, a neutral look, and of course, being the BTC's 100 helps a lot too. Then of course there's engines that solely fall in the background, such as Springwater and Ontario, who was saved from scrap at the last minute by the previous big controller. But beside that, he lives a quiet life. Normally these three engines would seldom interact until now. One morning the three arrived at a construction site where the big controller was waiting for them.
Good morning, you three. Now, as you can see, I'm making something, and that something is a secondary mainline, and you three will construct it.
Yes, sir.
Lorenzo shouted excitedly.
You can count on me, sir.
Springwater said normally. Burlington did the engine equivalent of nodding.
Excellent. I shall leave you to it then. Best of luck.
And he walked away to let them work. Burlington and Lorenzo would move supply trains to and from the work site, while Springwater would move the trucks and cranes to their proper locations. The work was long and tiring, but everyone was in high spirits. One night, the three were resting at a temporary shed discussing the project.
Isn't this exciting? Behind the trillium goals, only we're engines. So where are the train engines or motors? Faster than my homeland bridge.
Well, I don't probably would say that, but this exciting.
Burlington, of course, didn't say a thing, but inside there was one thing he thought to say to Lorenzo.
Glad you're annoying.
Over the next week the project was on schedule, and everything appeared to be all right. But old Burlington was growing very impatient with Lorenzo and his singing, but of course he would never say so. One day Burlington arrived with another supply train to a pack of temporary sidings.
All right, Burlington.
The foreman said.
Springwater is needed elsewhere, so you have to shunt your trucks.
Burlington nodded and he ran around his train. Once he did, he began to shunt his trucks away. Just then Lorenzo arrived to take some empty trucks away. As he began to back down on them, he began to sing. This infuriated Burlington. He had always hated it whenever he would sing. He found it annoying and always tried to get away, but with him shunting he couldn't. Unfortunately, Burlington was so enraged by Lorenzo he didn't see the buffers until it was too late. The truck ran through the buffers before toppling over. Barrington soon followed, his front wheels coming off the rails.
You stupid great engine! What you think you're doing shunting at such speed you could have hurt someone, let alone ruin our supplies?
Burlington, of course, didn't say anything. He just looked away ashamed. Lawrence, though, seeing the whole ordeal, quickly went off to find the breakdown train. Minutes later, he returned with it and Springwater, and the two set to work clearing the mess. Lawrence didn't sing at all, surprising Burlington. Half an hour later, the mess was clear and he got back on the rails. Lawrence shunted him to the front of his train.
Don't worry, Burlington. Accidents happen. We'll get you fixed up right away.
And with that, he puffed away, and instead of singing, he had his driver turn on the radio in his cab. Burlington, of course, didn't say a thing, but he thought of one thing while they were traveling.
Maybe this glitch isn't so bad.